Good morning. Certainly a very tragic day in Charlottesville, and our thoughts and prayers are with the football players at Virginia who were senseless victims of shooting on their campus early this morning. It's tragic. Our hearts go out to them, the football program, the university. Just senseless violence. College campuses should be a place where it's violent-free, and what happened yesterday is certainly heartbreaking, and we certainly pray for all those involved, and certainly hits close to home as well. Having players that actually had relationships with players on the team. So again, thoughts and prayers with everybody involved, and we will certainly keep an eye on this matter. So with that, we'll move on to this weekend, and obviously last weekend, our football team was challenged for 4 quarters against an Arkansas football team that we knew was going to be difficult to play at Fayetteville, and they were. They were well prepared. They were well coached for the game, and quite frankly, I think our guys look. Winning's a habit, and losing's a habit. And what we can take out from that game is that they have done the things necessary to make winning a habit. And just like losing becomes a habit, they found a way to win that football game. And we had some guys that had superlative performances. Harold Perkins was certainly the SEC Player of the Week again. I don't think that's to anybody's surprise. He certainly also was National Player of the Week. I think he was the let me get the facts down here so I have them right. What was he? What national player was he? Walter. Thank you, Walter Camp. Why don't you tell me? We'll make this easier. It's interactive. The Walter, except for calling plays, we'll leave that for you. Can just write that stuff down. Walter Camp. So obviously some great individual performances. And we did things defensively that allowed us, to find a way to win the football game. Special teams were solid, and we found a running game that allowed us to put together enough offense to win a football game. But again, I'll go back to the fact that winning's a habit, and our guys have done a lot of things the right way to create winning habits off the field that contributed to finding a way to win the football game. So there's a lot to work on. We've got to coach better. We've got to prepare our football team better. We've got to do a lot of things better. That falls on everybody associated, and that's what we have to work on this week going into UAB. A lot of this will be about our improvement, our preparation, how we get ready to look, if we just get 1% better this week, we'll be a better football team, and that will be our focus. This is a really good football team that we're playing in UAB. As I segue into this weekend's game, it's Senior Day at LSU. We'll have 17 seniors that we'll be honoring. 13 of them have already earned their college degree. Obviously our mission is to graduate champions, and we'll be able to live up to that creed. So kickoff 8 o'clock, a later start for our guys, but they'll certainly go through a similar routine that we've had throughout the year. As I mentioned, last home game at Tiger Stadium, and playing a UAB team that and first-year head coach Brian Vincent, who's taken over, he had been the OC. They have one of the best running backs in the country in Dwayne McBride. He's got over 1,400 yards rushing, very accomplished on offense. I think from an overview, what I would say is a very mature team. This is made up of fifth-year seniors. There's a number of sixth-year players on this team. So this is a mature veteran football team that has a very good offensive structure. This is a team that knows what they want to do. They want to run the inside-outside zone play. They want to be play-action pass. Defensively, they're in a 3-down, 4-down structure. It's a well-coached football team, and it's a team that, quite frankly, is better than its record. They've had 3 or 4 losses that could easily be wins, and this could be one of the top teams in the non-Power 5 that would be coming into Tiger Stadium. So this is a challenge. This is a really good challenge for our football team, and we'll have to play well in Tiger Stadium against a really veteran football team. And again, led by Hopkins. Defensively, very productive linebackers in Wilder and Taylor. And again, I think what stands out to me is their run game, their play action pass, and then defensively their ability to move into 3-down, 4-down looks and be multiple. So, again, this is going to be a lot about, our football team being better prepared and then flipping the switch into, better performance on Saturday. So, all you guys.
About just getting 1% better, specifically on the offensive side. After having 3 really good weeks, just kind of what do you want to address on that side of the ball after maybe not playing the way you had against Arkansas?
Yeah, so we were defended quite well, and so I think part of this is understanding what adjustments that we have to make when teams are looking to defend things that have been really good for us. So, we've got to make some adjustments. We've got to look at how we're doing things and be, I think, one step ahead, from that perspective. And have some adjustments, do some things that allow us to be effective at what we're good at. And quite frankly, our preparation has to be better. We've got to coach better. And I'll put a lot of that on myself in terms of preparing our football team, in particular on the offensive side of the ball.
Coach, outside of Harold Perkins, how much has the flu impacted the team? Do you have some other guys that have caught it, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fairly pervasive, throughout the program. I think we've managed it the best we can. But yeah, it's around. I don't know that it had anything to do with our performance on Saturday. We just, we're dealing with it on a day-to-day basis.
First, is that why there was chicken broth on the sideline? And then I wanted to ask a football question.
I prefer clam chowder, but they weren't going to go with the New England style. Obviously the salt, for hydration purposes, and then obviously hot because of the weather. So a combination. Dr. Frakes had put together that with a couple of other elixirs. I think he could have sold it at the state fair and made a little bit of money as the LSU way of getting you better in the second half. But no, I think all of them had some form of, nutrients that were needed for the guys at that particular time.
And then I wanted to ask, what makes Josh Williams such an effective runner?
Well, he's, first of all, the physicality that he brings, low pads, plays low, strong, physical, and he's so strong. His lower half is so strong. He keeps his legs moving, and once you think you've got him tackled, there's 3 or 4 more yards. Runs to daylight, very effective runner in all those areas. But I think his strength is, his ability to do a little bit of everything for us. Pass protect, catch the ball out of the backfield, and be a strong inside-out runner.
You may not love this with 2 games left to go, but will you or anyone on the staff begin looking at Georgia and starting any type of prep?
No. I mean, I think we'll have plenty of time, to get information on Georgia. And we're pretty much aware of, Georgia and who they are and what they're about. So, our focus will be on UAB and A&M because they matter. Those games, for us in terms of where we are, and the development of our program, these singular games are so important to us. Look, I get the SEC championship game is what it is, right? It gets you one step. But as we're climbing this ladder for us in terms of the development of our program, these games are so pivotal for us in terms of our development. It's crazy to be able to think of anything else but these individual games.
Coach, a couple of things. The three-man front by Arkansas, do you expect to see that from other teams until you adjust? And two, as a program, are you ahead of schedule?
You know, we've seen three down probably more than any other front. I think what was different is their edges were a little bit more aggressive, and we just simply didn't take advantage of that aggressiveness. And like I said, I think it falls on me, and we've got to prepare our team to be more aggressive to teams that want to play three down with the edges being so close. We have talented players on the perimeter, and we've got to get the ball out to them. So that's the answer to question one. Question two was, look, I didn't put any wins or losses on this team. I want to play hard. I want to be better in November. I want to teach them how to win. I think we've hit all of those markers, and that's kind of where I wanted this program to be. So I think we're at where we should be at this time.
Yeah, Brian, right here. After the game, Sam Pittman talked about their whole defensive game plan was not to be gap Sam, was just to blitz and get Daniels on the ground. That's the first time you've seen a defense basically say, we got to stop this guy first.
It was an aggressive defensive game plan that, was unique in that sense, but we have to be better. We have to prepare for those kinds of situations where defenses just say, we're just going to give you everything we got, and what do we have to lose? And it falls on me and our offensive staff to prepare for those kinds of situations, and we'll be prepared, and it won't happen again.
Right up the middle, Coach. Harold's obviously gathering a lot of attention, and rightfully so, but could you speak to his teammates opening him up, freeing
Yes.
him up, and the job that each of them maybe differently are doing to allow him to be so free?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of this has to do with the ability to flush him out, and that's BJ and Ali Gay, and certainly J. Roy probably had his best game of the year. I mean, there's a lot of guys that go into this, right? Mike Baskerville, I could go on and on with that front. Savion was outstanding. He played with speed and agility. That group up front, Makai Wingo, we've talked about all year, they make a lot of that happen because they flush that quarterback. And then, you got a guy like that can just chase him down. It's pretty impressive that the marriage, if you will, between the two, where you have a group that can get a quarterback outside the pocket and then go chase it down. It's kind of what I talked about from an offensive perspective. It's gotten us thinking about, do you spy Harold now? Like, do you put a spy on Harold? Because, do you have somebody from the running back position try to shadow him? And so we're preparing for all of these eventualities as we kind of move forward.
Josh Williams has obviously gotten a lot of claim for his pass protection. You even mentioned it. I mean, over your career, what goes into developing pass protection with the running back? Because I'm sure a lot of those guys didn't think they came here to block.
Yes and no. I mean, look, I understand the question, but I think it's important that running backs clearly understand that if you want to stay on the field, right, you can't be a miss it. I'm going to miss you, right? You're going to be on the field less because you can't pass pro. But what I think makes a really good, first of all, you've got to want to do it, right? You've got to have the technique. But more importantly, it's the ability to read and recognize defenses. most backs go what we call coast to coast. They start on one side, and then if their read doesn't show, they have to go all the way across and then read the other side. And that's a lot. And so most backs have to be able to do that. And it requires a lot of film study. Coach Wilson has to spend a lot of time with those backs, and they have to watch a lot of film and pick up a lot of different blitzes. And so football intelligence is really important at that position. So in recruiting, we have to make sure that backs have that ability to do it. And Josh is one of them that has a high football IQ.
Coach, when you were building this roster in the offseason, I think you said, we want guys that want to be here as a big priority to the transfer portal and all that. Obviously, they have to have talent and know how to play, but how much is team chemistry and the fact that they seem to be a real tight-knit group played in your success this year?
It's huge. I mean, I don't know that I've ever had a really good football team that didn't like each other. Now, there's going to be a couple of guys here and there that, I'm sure I rub you guys the wrong way. I mean, it's like everybody's going to have a couple of guys like that, but generally speaking, they like each other. And I think it starts because everybody's held accountable to the same level. Like the best player doesn't get special treatment. Everybody gets treated the same way. And I think when you start with that premise, everybody knows that they're all pulling the same way. And that gradually they start to get closer and closer as a group. And that began in January, and I think it's just kind of been able to build along the way, and they enjoy being around each other. They enjoy the road trips. They enjoy being on the plane. They enjoy being on the bus and in the hotel together, and you can sense that and you can feel it. It's a fun group to be around.
Hey, Coach, was that Greg Penn's best game this year? And then how far along is the linebacker group from camp in week one? I guess specifically Baskerville and Penn and Perkins.
It was easily Greg Penn's best game. Now, we challenged him. Because, as you know, Tolan's on his heels, right? He's coming on. He's making progress. He's doing some really good things. And Greg can feel that. And I love the way he responded to that challenge. He played his best game. He played with physicality. He played with great instincts. And that's what we expect out of him. I think he's got to have a great offseason, which he will in the weight room. And he's going to be a heck of a good player for us. But it's nice to have some young guys that are forcing that issue too. So, yeah, it was really good to see him play the way he did.
Obviously, you inherited this senior class, but you've been with them for a year now. Could you get a little bit deeper on them and just kind of a different year with the COVID years that they've all had? Maybe they're even more mature, more older. So what have they meant to you in this season?
Yeah, so every senior year is a little bit different. A lot of these guys have already graduated. Some haven't graduated. Some may want to come back. Some don't want to, be part of the celebration because they are coming back. They don't want to do it twice. So it's a little bit of both, right? But I can tell you this. What stands out are the stories like Micah Baskerville, who, when I got here, everybody was like, well, he doesn't go to class, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, and he's been amazing. He's gotten his degree, he's been a great leader, he's been inspirational in everything he's done. I love that story. To watch him grow and do the right things in the classroom, to overcome all the things that were in his past, that to me is this senior class. And watching them, become SEC West champions is so gratifying because they made that choice. I mean, they could have been average. They could have been poor. They could have just been good. They've chosen to be champions by the way they've gone to work every day, both in the classroom and on the football field. And that, to me, is this senior day, is the choices that these guys made have been outstanding.
Yeah, Brian, following up actually on Micah, was it for him the key, because he'd had some playing time earlier in his career, but was the key kind of doing all those things off the field in order to actually kind of flourish the way that he has this year and rise back up the depth chart?
Well, I think it was the standards of the program that obviously were set, and he was going to meet and exceed the standards that were set. And then along the way, he started to feel really good about, his academics and getting his degree, and it was important to him, and knew that he could be successful both in the classroom and on the football field. So I think empowering him to believe that he could do it and be successful, and then holding him accountable accordingly. And so we gave him the belief and the trust that once he was able to get those things accomplished, he would be a center point in terms of what we did defensively. Good?
Is that it?
One
Someone
more?
else have the mic? You mentioned Tolan. You only signed 15 high school guys, and I think 6 or 7 are either starting or at least playing a lot.
I would have
How-
signed more if we could have.
Right. How impressed just have you been with that group, especially considered that you're starting them at really key positions?
Yeah, that freshman class has obviously been a huge piece of this SEC West championship team, right? You've got 2 starting tackles, you've got a tight end, you've got Harold Perkins, you've got Tolan, you've got a number of guys that are playing in roles that are helping us in so many different ways, from, Dybert kicking the ball into the back of the end zone on a regular basis. You just go through the roster. That freshman class has been very impactful.
Just quick personal updates. Brian Thomas, John Emery, how are they doing? Then also Garrett obviously seemed available but didn't play. What was sort of the reason behind that?
Brian Thomas should be. Well, I'll know this afternoon, but he went through the next step in the concussion protocol. He was in a concussion protocol from practice. He did very well. We're hopeful that if everything goes well today, that he will be in non-contact tomorrow, and then obviously continues to move into contact on Wednesday. The next one was John Emery, fine, just a bruise.
Hey, Coach. One of the sort of the unsung heroes this season has been Damian Ramos. What sort of
Yes.
growth have you seen from him this year?
I just think consistency has been, like, when we talk about his growth, we brought him in halfway through camp, right? And so his growth has been so meteor. I mean, it's been a meteor, right? He's gone from not being here to he takes over the starting position. And then I think just consistency. And I think that that's kind of pretty big for a kicker, right? Just to be consistent week in and week out. I've really liked his progress. Just, every day he comes with the same kind of mindset. And he works on any of the things that, that have been an issue, right? If he misses from a particular hash, he's going over and working on that particular skill set. He's very organized, very thoughtful, very intentional in everything that he does. Thank you.